Welcome back to Clothesline Retro, the review that takes you back on that nostalgic road back to classic pay-per-view events of the World Wrestling Federation or any other wrestling organization that we have. I'm Oren as usual, and with me is my good friend Gordon. Gordon, how are you on this fabulous day?
I'm quite all right, Oren, and I hope to find you in the same kind of, shall we say, health. We have discovered most recently that we have a fan. We have a fan, just a single fan, but this is where you start from. We have a fan. His name is Oliver. I've known him for over 20 years, and he got our review. He advised us, and he mostly complimented us for our style. And I should mention, I didn't bring this up. He actually said that our so-called English is actually better than what he had the chance to listen to from most Americans. Imagine this, the two Israelis sitting here in Israel reviewing shows from the past in English. Actually, their level of English is beyond
understandable and reasonable. Who could have thought?
To me, this is incomprehensible. I can't understand this, but I am thankful for the compliments. I hope it is only the beginning of many more reviews to come, or at least one more.
So yes, thank you, Oliver, for the kind reviews, for the kind thoughts. We really appreciate it. And with that, we turn to our next event, the first pay-per-view to air on Israeli television. As we tell you, we do these reviews as through the eyes of mere Israeli wrestling fans and tell you about our experience, how we came across the World Wrestling Federation. So yeah, this was the first WWF pay-per-view that aired on Channel 5. That's our sports channel. And it was WrestleMania 9. Gordon, did you see it live back then, or did you see it on the red cassettes of Coliseum Video?
I've had no way of watching this back in the day. No cables where I lived. So I've had no choice. I believe I've only watched this in the local Coliseum Video release. I don't know if you've got this one. This, folks, is the way the Israeli release looked like.
You mean this one?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I see you've got the same as mine.
I got the same as yours.
Well, I don't know if we should elaborate on the subtitles issue. We've had apparently some sort of an ape doing the subtitles. It was any connection between the stuff you've actually heard about this tape and the subtitles is purely coincidental.
Exactly.
It was how can I put this in layman's terms? It was the worst hack job you have ever seen, and the event isn't much better.
Yeah, to say the least, if you put in those words. So we will review the event as we saw it. We both saw it on Coliseum Video. There is a preview show about a half hour long with Sean Mooney presenting us about the whole storylines going towards WrestleMania 9. And we'll talk a little bit about them as we move through each of the matches. WrestleMania 9, Las Vegas, Nevada, Caesar's Palace, almost 17,000 fans in attendance. As you all saw in our last review, Royal Rumble 93, at the end of the pay-per-view, we saw Julius Caesar and Cleopatra telling us that this is going to be at Caesar's Palace. Yeah, we're getting the whole gimmick now because everybody is in togas, and I'm talking everyone, from the cameraman to the security guards to the ring announcer, Howard Finkel, or should I say Finkus Maximus? That was something. And the only one that wasn't in a toga was Vince McMahon, and I'm really upset about that. Everyone was in a toga except for Vince McMahon. You call that solidarity? I mean, come on, man.
Well, you've had everyone in togas, as you've mentioned. We said we talked about the Fink. We've had Monsoon and Gene Okerlund, and the debuting Jim Ross.
Yep.
who was actually, I believe he said he was a last minute replacement, and he expected to show up much more in a growing frequent times, and that sort of didn't happen. He is, of course, way younger here than we know him nowadays. Even his voice is higher pitched, and he is one of the to me at least, he is one of the highlights of this show.
Completely. When you talk commentary wise, Jim Ross is basically he's carrying on this pay per view like he does in the next couple of pay per views that he does broadcasting. He carries the pay per view. I think the part where they show Gorilla Monsoon introduce us to WrestleMania IX is because they give him a little gesture because we wouldn't see him on commentary as the lead announcer throughout maybe in the next couple of years. Last time I saw him, I'm guessing King of the Ring '94. I'm not quite sure. Other than that, he was only on occasional commentary matches with Jim Ross on radio WWF. So they said, we're going to give you a little gesture.
I believe he took part in the 1994 Survivor Series as well. I seem to recall his presence there. And but yeah, Monsoon is as a on the broadcast position, he is dwindling down, and unfortunately, it would only get worse for him. And he is the voice of my childhood. He is the voice of my early beginnings as a fan. Um, sure, I wouldn't trust him to carry a pay-per-view broadcast on his own. But while Ventura or Heenan were alongside for the ride, I'm completely okay with that.
Actually, I pretty feel he held his own in 1994 in the King of the Ring, but we'll talk about that at a later time. Anyways, WrestleMania 9. And like I said, Jim Ross, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Randy Macho Man Savage are your commentary team. Like I said, Jim Ross carries the broadcast. And this is actually his first day on the job on WWF. He did one of the funny stories I remember about coming into this broadcast. When he found out he was going to broadcast WrestleMania 9, he was still working for WCW. And he was on their radio show, I believe. And on his last day on the job, he actually did a commercial shoot for WrestleMania 9 on WCW radio. That was awesome. So that's Jim Ross for you right there, being a badass.
That is just, using using your right foot to enter properly to this brand new company, brand new role in this company, and it would be for ages. Well, with breaks here and there, but yeah, we should notice that on the first match, well, on the first, shall we say, dark match, Tito Santana breaks his unlucky streak of WrestleManias, which he had one victory at WrestleMania 1, and the following ones were all losses. Here, he wins in a match I've had the opportunity to watch. It was uploaded, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years ago, and it is, I'm afraid to say, nothing special. That's all I've got to remark over about this specific match.
First of all, I've known about the match, the pre-show match, the dark match between Tito Santana, El Matador against Papa Shango, and he wins, but I never saw the match. So if that thing is still available, I'll love to watch it later.
It ain't. I'm sorry, it ain't, but you're not missing, unless you're, sort of a trivia buff, you're not missing anything unusual.
Then it will forever be a dark match and we'll never see it again. Anyways, let's move on. The first matchup on the card was the Intercontinental Title match, and I know I'm jumping the gun ahead. I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but this by far is the best match on the card. Tatanka versus Shawn Michaels, in my opinion, at least, for the Intercontinental Championship. With Tatanka, he's coming into the ring alongside Cherry, and for Shawn Michaels, he's accompanied by Luna Vachon. I'm guessing the match was supposed to be Marty Jannetty versus Shawn Michaels, but of course, Jannetty in his history, I'm just guessing.
That is one of the rumors I've heard as well. And I want to make sure I've heard you right. Do you believe this is the best match on the card?
as I looked for the pay-per-view once again, this is one of the best matches on the card, if not the best match on the card, I gotta say.
Okay, we shall disagree.
All right.
And believe you me, this match to me is stuck on first gear.
All right.
It is. Look, Tatanka had this non-title victory over Michaels.
Yeah.
He had a pinfall victory over Michaels in during Raw, I believe, in a
six-man tag with Tatanka and the Nasty Boys defeating the Beverly Brothers and Shawn Michaels. Yeah.
Indeed. And I believe, let's just put aside for a moment the quality of the match, which I'm going to touch about. But if there was ever a chance to grant Tatanka with a proper title victory and an additional title reign, that was this moment. He was still doing the victory streak thing. He was still popular with the audience, and even though I've never regarded him as much of a wrestler, he had like this little bit of charisma, and that's the thing that like worked for him. That was the entire thing. They could have granted him with the title victory, but they chose not to. The match itself, I believe Michaels came injured, had an arm injury, and this is not an entertaining match. I cannot say it is.
All right.
And it is on the somewhat boring side. Now, sure, we'll see worse as this evening goes on, but it could have been a better opener than it was, and it just isn't, and it ends in sort of I believe it is considered as a count-out victory for Tatanka, but still, I still cannot shake away the feeling we could have had more to work with here.
I think the match was a solid match for what it was. I thought that the finish kind of makes sense if you don't want Tatanka to win the championship. But like you said, if there was any opportunity to put a title on Tatanka, this was it. And I don't know why they didn't pull the trigger on that. Maybe they had different plans for Tatanka later on, and then they didn't came into fruition. As for Michaels, he did come into this match injured, and it showed. But even though it showed, they still had Tatanka working on his arm, so it kind of mixed reality with cinema, you might say. But like I said, I thought the match was solid. I thought that both men did a good job overall. And the ending came when they were fighting on the outside, and the referee was about to hit the bell when Michaels was counted out. He pulled him into the outside. So I thought the match ended in disqualification, but then the referee says, no, the match ends in a count out because I already counted the 10 when he counted him out. Tatanka still wins, but he doesn't win the title. One weird spot during the match, or throughout the match, is that every time Michaels is hurt and is on the outside, Luna Vachon tries to approach him as to take care of him or something, but Sherry keeps blocking her. Why do you keep blocking her if you don't care about Michaels after he dumped you?
I have no idea. I've actually no idea. And but you actually can notice that the entire presence of Luna seems to be only in order to further the Luna Sherry Martel feud. But this one, it just you notice the fact that Michaels tries to distance himself away from Luna, even though you came to the ring with me, yeah, sure, whatever, but I am not into it. At least this way, that's how it seems to me.
Yeah, because the weird thing is, she accompanies Michaels to the ring, but they have no interaction, no connection. They don't speak to each other. They don't look at each other. It's like she's just there, just to do the hit on Sherry, and that's it. So why even accompany him to the match if you're not even a factor during the match? you could have, I don't know. Like, I can see the reasoning with Sherry Martel accompanying Tatanka or coming into the match mid-match to try to distract Michaels and maybe cause him to lose the title. And then afterwards have Luna attack Sherry. That makes sense. Having both of them during the matchup and do absolutely nothing except for that weird spot where Sherry protects Michaels from Luna, that is just weird.
I cannot protect this. I can't defend this under any means. It's just what it is.
It is what it is. After the matchup, Luna Vachon demolishes Sherry Martel, and we get updates throughout the event that Sherry's been attacked in the medical facility, in the medical room and backstage by Luna Vachon numerous times. Now, you don't see the actual attacks, but on Coliseum video, you do see one attack that Luna attacks Sherry Martel. And yeah, this is pretty much the beginning of the feud between Luna Vachon and Sherry Martel, because I believe it started from this event. I remember the promos and all that, but I think it came afterwards, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. First of all, it should be said that these attacks are vicious looking.
Yeah.
And I mean it in the good sense of the word, not in the negative sense of the word.
Yeah, completely.
And rumor has it that they were supposed to have a mixed tag at SummerSlam with Tatanka and Sherry versus Bam Bam and Luna. And due to an injury, I believe, on Sherry's part, it got changed to the six-man tag.
Exactly. Kind of unfortunate that they never saw a good resolve to their feud. I remember they had a one-on-one matchup, but then, like you said, it was supposed to progress into a mixed tag match, but it never came into fruition. And that is the first matchup on the card. Before the next matchup, we get an interview backstage with the Steiner brothers saying they're going to make Caesar proud. Yeah, you know, because he hasn't been around for about 1,000 years. But yeah, I'm sure he's going to be proud about your matches that you'll never see against the Headshrinkers. Your thoughts about the second match, the Cider brothers versus the Headshrinkers?
Okay. I believe this entire show, to me, is a two-match show. This is one of them. I think it's a great match. It includes some very interesting spots. You've got the double clothesline from both Steiners on the Headshrinkers from the top rope, as they're both standing simultaneously over. They leap from the top rope into the Headshrinkers, and you've got this Doomsday Device counter with the Rick Steiner
power slam.
One of the Headshrinkers. That is something I've never seen before. I don't think I'll ever see again.
I could say that I saw that maneuver like years later. The Steiner brothers, when it comes to wrestling, were ahead of their time. These guys were innovators of moves. I saw a movie back from 1980 something where Scott Steiner actually performs a 450 splash, and I seriously believe he's the first guy to do it. Even the move, the Frankensteiner, I don't think he ripped it off. I think he originated the move. Because afterward, because everybody keeps calling it the Frankensteiner, not the Hurricanrana.
I can't say. However, he may have been the first to originate this in the United States. Speaking of which, two blown spots in this match. First of all, the finish, the Frankensteiner, which kind of worked, but not really. And of course, you've got the Scott Steiner tossed outside of the ring, over the top. That's terrible.
That is a nasty part. I want to talk about that. There was a spot. What he's talking about is that Scott goes through the ropes, and then Fatu lifts him up to do a shotgun to the ropes. A hot shot shotgun to the ropes, and Samu pulls the rope down. It looks like Scott Steiner died. Seriously, he just goes down to the floor, and I thought the man seriously died on that spot right there. Luckily, he didn't. Afterward, he gets some brutal shots with a bamboo shoot or something on his back. It also looks brutal, but luckily it was okay to finish the matchup. I agree. This matchup was awesome, even though it was a little bit short. A much better tag team matchup than we got later on in the show. Yeah, by far. And seriously, the Steiners defeating the Headshrinkers establishing themselves as one of the top tag teams back then in WWF, and that would lead them into a tag team title reign after the whole Money Incorporated Hulkamaniacs feud.
It is kind of weird that all the Steiner's title victories are placed on house shows. I know they were working the surprise element of anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you kind of expected more of the. You're giving the Steiner brothers, your top tag team at this point, the titles. Why won't you do it at the very least on a television broadcast? Not to mention a pay-per-view. I don't know. I can't understand this, but I want to end this on a humorous note, which I've read about just this weekend on Tito Santana, new book. There it is. Tito Santana's book.
Nice.
And he says this about the Steiners. He says, Rick told me that Scott was so cheap that when they finished dining at a restaurant, Rick would leave and Scott would take the tip away.
That's a lousy move, Scott. That's a lousy move. If it's real, I'm not accusing of anything. Anyways, moving along. The next matchup on the card was Doink the Clown versus Crush. Before the matchup, we're going to interview with Doink the Clown backstage with me and G, and he explains how this all came unfolded. Basically, Doink was a clown that harassed wrestlers. Yeah, he harassed them after their matches. He threw buckets of water at them and other shenanigans that clowns do. And one time he annoyed Crush, and Crush was upset. He almost hit Doink. And then after another match of Crush, Doink appears with his arm in a sling, offering a flower as an apology. Crush accepts the flower, and when he walks away, Doink's removed the arms from the sling. It's a loaded arm, and he continues to hit Crush mercifully, and he almost ended his career. Of course, that attack prevented Crush from entering the Royal Rumble back in '93, and we come to this matchup, a WrestleMania match between Crush and a clown.
Well, first of all, we should mention the personal turn in this one. Crush says, "My grandfather used to be a clown, and you're disgracing the name of clowns everywhere." Okay, and we get this so-called match because I don't know. It seems to be that the only interesting thing in this one is the scheme of colors on both wrestlers.
Yeah, those were really strong colors.
Look, I should point out the portrayal of Matt Bourne is doing is great. Crush is doing his part. That's character-wise.
Yep, completely.
Wrestling-wise, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's not. Once more, that's a common thread throughout this one. Not a good match. And includes a second Doink, Steve Keirn / Skinner at the end. Yeah, I think we should just move on.
That wasn't a Doink. That was an illusion. It was an illusion. That's Bobby Heenan said on commentary.
End gracefully and just move on.
Minor points about the matchup. Number one, even though the clown gimmick is just bad, when you take Doink the Clown and make him a heel, that evil clown gimmick works. I loved the evil clown gimmick of Doink. I thought it was tremendous. I hated the fact that he turned him face, made him a good guy. Why? The evil clown really worked. It was a good gimmick. Matt Bourne was a genius when he portrayed that gimmick. And then they changed it into a face, and it was just bad. And I don't understand why they did it till this day. For the match itself, here's a point I want to discuss because we talk about 3 different matches. Tatanka versus Shawn Michaels, Steiner's versus the Headshrinkers, and now Crush versus Doink. And I saw the exact same spot performed in each one of the matches when one wrestler goes up the top and the other wrestler catches him with a flying power slam. It's a spot that was performed for the 3rd time in the 3rd match in a row. And I'm like, I know there's like an unwritten rule between wrestlers. You don't do the same spot like in each and every match. But apparently, nobody told these guys because they did the same spot for 3 matches in a row.
Seems like someone just wasn't supervising the script tightly enough.
Or
And
maybe it was just one producing it and was like, ah, I'm too tired. Just do the same spot over and over again.
yeah, that's right. And that is it. It is just what you make out of it.
Yeah.
As you said, turning doink. We kind of skipping ahead forward. Turning doink was one of the worst decisions. As I don't know if anyone was thinking about the portrayal of the character. As you turn doink, he was just jobbing. He did nothing of note. I don't know, unless you can call a feud with Jeff Jarrett anything of any importance. There's just nothing to it.
So yeah, bad decision turning Doink from heel to face. As for the match itself, it was pretty much a nothing match. Crush dominating most of it. Then Doink tries to crawl under the ring. Crush stops him. He tries to put him in his finisher hold, the Crusher. I don't remember the actual
Cranium
name.
crunch.
What?
Cranium crunch.
Cranium Crunch. Thank you very much. I didn't remember the name. But he was able to deter himself and hit the referee with his elbow, knocking him out. Then he tries to crawl under the ring again. Crush stops him, puts him in the Cranium Crunch, and another Doink appears. Another Doink appears with the loaded arm, starts attacking Crush, and Jim Ross is screaming, there's two Doinks, there's two Doinks. And Bobby Heenan's like, no, that's an illusion. And I'm like, really? That was a funny spot, always a funny line by Bobby Heenan. They keep attacking Crush. Then they do the whole mirror thing where they look at each other, and it's like, what? You're kidding me. So the fake Doink crawls back onto the ring. The evil Doink pins Crush. He gets the victory. Then another referee after the matchup shows up, because there's no instant replay in the WWF, and says, no, there's another Doink under the ring, so you should see this, and then you should disqualify him. But they looked under the ring when there was no other Doink, presumably.
The story was Steve Kern had to be in there. I mean, from the get-go, from the start of the event, he was lying there thinking, should I proceed being Skinner? Should I reform my team with Stan Lane? What am I supposed to do with this gimmick? And
I mean, I was an alligator hunter, for God's sake. Look at me now. I'm a clown hunting beneath the ring for 3 hours.
You've had a good living. What'd you dish it for? And, that's just...
So, yeah, pretty much. That's it. Pretty much it. One more thing I should note about Jim Ross is that during the second matchup, it was the first time he coined the phrase slobber knocker. And I was like, wow, that's the first time he actually said it on WWF programming. Maybe he said it before in WCW, I don't know. But this was the Steiners versus Headshrinkers, a trivia fact for you. The first time he coined the phrase slobber knocker. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yep. The next matchup on the card, before the next matchup, we see Todd Pettingill doing some crowd surfing and talking to fans, and he talked to Japanese photographers, because it's the 90s. And you got to do the whole gimmick thing when you talk to Japanese photographers, and they do the whole shtick of not understanding English and going, Yokozuna's #1. God, I hated the 90s for those things.
That's like Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah, the only difference is those were actual Japanese or Chinese people. Still,
the mocking is still the same.
Mocking is completely still the same. And from there we go to maybe one of your favorite matches as well: Razor Ramon versus Bob Backlund. My apologies in advance, Gordon. You might not know this, but go ahead. Bob Backlund is one of Gordon's favorite wrestlers.
He is.
Gordon, your thought about this match, presumably.
Look, it should be said this is not a bad match, but it's the if I had to nickname it, it's the filler of this show. Yeah. As it is there, and they apparently had to keep on pushing Scott Hall. Backlund wasn't, and I'm sorry to say this, wasn't doing anything special. Ever since, perhaps aside from his Rumble appearance, he wasn't doing anything special right up until they decided to turn him heel. He was sort of a relic, shall we say, of different time. And the outcome is this match, which is okay, I guess.
The match was okay, but there's like a million questions that come up from through this matchup. Number one, Razor Ramon was challenging the WWF champion at the last pay-per-view, and now he's in a filler match. So even though he gets the win, how can you tell me this is a push?
Well, note the term. He lost it, and quite on the quite the clean victory, and I don't know. He never got the same push ever again, and someone apparently said we still want to keep him fresh. We still want to remind the audience that he's here. Let's put him in this match, and yeah, we'll see worse than this one.
For those who may have not watched wrestling back in the 80s and 90s, when they started doing pay-per-views at the beginning, as far as I can remember, they had, let's say, the card could have between 9 to 11 matches. 5 of them would have storylines, and the other would just be filler matches. Just to fill up the card. You know, we gotta keep the people satisfied, so let's fill up the card. And this was another matchup to fill up the card. And I'm saying is, this is a guy who was in a championship match, a world championship match at the last pay-per-view. Yeah, he's against Bachman, and he's a good wrestler, and he's a great guy. But couldn't you have found at least like a little bit of a storyline to put into this? Like Razor complaining about this loss, and then Backlund have some sort of a storyline. You need to earn it again, and then you can have this old versus new generation stuff going on. I mean, you could do a lot more in this matchup than just put it in as a filler match.
Apparently, someone didn't feel this way. They probably didn't feel it was necessary.
Probably the same guy that did a power slam off the top rope, like for the third match in a row. Okay.
You are correct.
Yeah.
And it is actually Backlund's first pay-per-view singles bout in the company.
Yeah.
As amazing as it may sound, the guy missed the entire rock and wrestling era, and the stuff that went on afterwards. And there you go. There he is in a less than stellar debut.
You're talking about the rock and wrestling era. That guy missed the first 8 WrestleManias. So, yeah, he was like rock and wrestling and beyond. And then he came back for WrestleMania 9. As for the match itself, like we said, it was okay. It was really short. And the ending came with some... Okay, I think Razor won with a small package. But Jim Ross calls it an inside cradle.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So what is it?
One of the most ancient controversies is a small package really a small package, or is it an inside cradle?
So what is a small package if it's not a small package?
It's another term. An inside cradle is another term for a small package at times. To the best of my information, some people still refer to small package as a small package, and they use the inside cradle term to your basic, roll up from behind. That's why they say.
I would with you on that. I would completely agree on that, except for the fact, I'm sorry for going a lot back here, folks, but WrestleMania 8, Savage versus Ric Flair, he won with a roll up. Gorilla Monsoon says he won with a small package.
Did he?
Yep.
I swear I couldn't recall this one.
That's why the whole controversy comes up, because I know what a roll-up is, and then Gorilla Monsoon calls it a small package. Maybe he got confused. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And then we come to this matchup, and it's a small package, but then goes, it's an inside cradle. So I'm like, what the hell?
To wrap this entire debate, I have seen the small package referred to many, many times as inside cradle. Can't say it was the other thing around, but I believe the proper term is a small package.
All right, so it's bilingual. We're still in for that. And thank you for helping us keep the consistency in professional wrestling. All right, next matchup on the card is, the first half of our double main event in the middle of the card. Yeah, right. World Tag Team title match. Money Incorporated, Ted DiBiase and Erwin R. Schuster, IRS, taking on the team of the Mega Maniacs. Hulk Hogan, Brutus the Butter Beefcake, and Jimmy the Mouth of the Soft Heart as their manager. The story of the matchup: Brutus Beefcake made his triumphant comeback to the World Wrestling Federation a couple of months ago, about 2 months ago, I believe. And his first matchup was against Ted DiBiase on Monday Night Raw. After the matchup, when Brutus Beefcake won the match, Money Incorporated attacked Beefcake. They pummel him, and then because Beefcake just returned from a reconfiguration operation on his face because he broke it about a year ago, a year and a half even, DiBiase threatens to break his face again when he takes his briefcase, IRS's briefcase, and tries to ram it into his face. Jimmy Hart tries to stop them. And the first thing that comes to mind is, Jimmy Hart, you did way worse things back in the day. This is your breaking point. This is the part you say, no, I can't do this. I can't break a barber's face anymore. So anyways, they break Brutus Beefcake's face again. The week afterwards, or like 2 weeks afterwards, Brutus made a call and a friend came to his aid, and it was Hulk Hogan making his comeback to the World Wrestling Federation out of nowhere, and they challenged Money Incorporated to a tag title match at WrestleMania. But the Money Incorporated don't take the challenge seriously because they say, hey, because he got Beefcake, he's a weak link. Yeah, it's always nice to call a wrestler a weak link, but they have a plan. So they put an Ultimate Warrior plastic mask on his face so to prevent another briefcase to crack his face again. So this is pretty much the storyline and the setup for this matchup. Gordon, what did you think about the match?
The only thing that I can do is rate this specific match because there are not enough minus stars in this one. This one is dreadful. I love DiBiase. I love Mike Rotundo. I can't say the same for the Megamaniacs. I don't know what was it about this match. It is just, who authorized this pile of nothing? It is one, I'll go on a rant here, and I'll actually say this is probably the worst tag team match in WrestleMania history, if not in the entire WWE, and I am counting the Bradshaw Trish versus Gator Nowinski match.
I'll disagree because I don't think the match is that horrible. I mean, it's not good. It's not a good matchup. It's an okay match, but it's not a good match. First thing before the matchup, we get an interview with Money Incorporated. And at the end of the interview, they're saying Hogan might have a little accident last night. And when they come to the ring, of course, Jim Ross is asking Bobby Heenan, what are they talking about, Bobby? And Bobby said, no, that was nothing. I was actually with them at the club last night until 4 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, so Bobby Heenan covers for a potential brutal assault with an alibi, which is completely insane to me, with Bobby risking doing perjuring on the court when he actually lies about your whereabouts last night. So yeah, Hogan comes in with a shiner. He has a black eye on his face, and the rumors are that if you listen to Hogan, it says he had a ski accident, something like that, a boat ski accident. But the rumors say that he got a black eye from Randy Savage. Gordon, would you care to elaborate?
That's the same thing I've heard. Apparently, Savage wasn't too satisfied with Hogan getting involved between him and Elizabeth, contributing to their divorce in a certain way, and he just popped him, and that was the end result. And I should say, by the way, that I prefer the you've had the tape of the of History of WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I prefer the match included in the History of WrestleMania tape because it's clipped, and we don't have. That's right.
What clip? What match?
This tag team title match is once again shown when they review WrestleMania 9 at History of WrestleMania tape. I prefer the clipped version just so I won't have to sit through this living nightmare once again. Thank you.
So yeah, we go to the matchup, It's all Mega Maniacs from the beginning until the middle. And then Money Incorporated say, you know, we don't need this. Let's just go back to the, let's just go to the back, hit the casinos, do something. So they walk out of the ring. The referee starts the count, and then he stops. The crowd is booing. And then he goes to the ring announcer, and the ring announcer says, if Money Incorporated don't come to the ring, come back to the ring right now until the count of 10, they will not only lose the match, but they will also lose the tag team championships. Who made you general manager, Earl Hebner, when you can do this monstrosities decisions? I mean, come on, seriously, what the hell?
Apparently, they tried to borrow a page of their last WrestleMania appearance, which ended just this way, at the same manner. And it seems to me like there's a certain logic to this, because Money Inc. used to take the count-out loss on quite, or attempt to take the count-out loss on quite the routine. And yes, this is once you feel, or apparently Finkel felt, they have exaggerated and used this way too much. He said, no, I'm changing the rules right now. I'm the tempera. I am
Law
the GM,
enforcer, yeah, the referee's discretion, yeah.
Just for tonight, and I am calling the shots right now. And I will never forget nor forgive Finkel for keeping on with this match.
You know, putting his consistency aside, I'm just saying the fact that Earl Hebner does whatever he wants as a referee and starts interfering in matches and changing decisions and stuff like that at a whim. I mean, come on, Hebner. And you say to yourself, you're not a crooked referee. Give me a break. Anyway, the match continues. And then they finally, Money Incorporated finally get the upper hand. They attack Beefcake, and they finally remove his mask from his face. Oh no, now he's vulnerable. Okay, yeah, right. They now start attacking Hogan. He was put in the $1 million dream. He makes a comeback. Beefcake is able to hit a sleeper on IRS from the other side. Somewhere down this whole mess, the referee gets knocked out. They finally beat Money Incorporated with the mask that Beefcake had. They like used the actual mask and they hit him in the face of both Money Incorporated. That's an immediate disqualification, by the way. And they pin him. No referee inside. What happens? Jimmy Hart turns his jacket upside down, and it looks like a referee now. So he pins, he makes a pinfall, and yeah, they win the championship. Not really, because then Danny Davis comes to the outside, another referee, Danny Davis, and says Hulk Mega Maniacs were disqualified, and Money Incorporated retained the tag team titles. Afterwards, they attack Danny Davis, and it's a party. Yeah, Hulk Hogan's Real American played through the sound system for about 25 minutes, which in the end, they do the whole posing and the strutting, and then they take Arrowhead's briefcase, and they pull out a brick from there, and tax forms and money. They have actual money in that briefcase, and they spread it around, and this entire ordeal was about 25, 30 minutes, only the party at the end, and by God, I'm just happy this match is over. It's not the worst match in WrestleMania history, but it was not a good one.
You are being way too kind for not saying, just saying it's not a good one. You underestimate the horribleness of this so-called match, because I can just move on and I would feel better not discussing this thing.
And we'll never discuss this match again.
Apparently, if you look like a referee, you're also given the permission to act as a referee. This just goes nowhere, too slow.
It doesn't work like that. Everybody knows that. Anyways, moving on to the next matchup on the card. Actually, I believe this match was actually a really good one. The Narcissist, Lex Luger, taking on Mr. Perfect. We get an interview backstage with Mr. Perfect about the Narcissist. They tell us that Lex Luger attacked the WWF champion Bret Hart during a brunch earlier in the day. And what was the reasoning of that? It was supposed to set up a feud between Luger and Bret?
Apparently, that was the plan. They had sort of as you called it, they had the attack angle, and I think they met in house shows during six-man tags and all sorts and brawls. And yeah, apparently they tried to work it, but someone decided against it at the last moment. And as a result, we didn't get Luger versus Brett just yet.
Actually, I did see a match of them in a house show, and I thought they gelled pretty good. I thought it was a really decent matchup, and I was really curious to see what kind of a feud that would be between Bret Hart and the Narcissist. Anyway, the match is Mr. Perfect versus the Narcissist Lex Luger. The story of the match: Mr. Perfect defeated Ric Flair after the Royal Rumble '93, thus banishing Ric Flair back to WCW. But of course, he was friends with Bobby Heenan, so Heenan always has a plan B. He brought in the Narcissist Lex Luger at the Royal Rumble '93. We apologize, we're not talking about that in our last review, and we're going to talk about it right now. So yeah, during that infamous debut, he said that he is beyond perfection. Thus, he wants Mr. Perfect in a match. So there's a good segment also on the pre-show showing us an episode of Superstars where Luger's looking in the mirror. Mr. Perfect comes along, and he asks the mirror who's the perfect of them all, with his towel, with his name engraved in that towel, saying it's Mr. Perfect. Really nice segment. You should watch it if you can. Anyways, as for the match itself, like I said, I thought it was a really good matchup. Also, this is Toga. This is Roman times. Everybody has something special, togas and stuff. Luger gets a special entrance with the, let's call them the Virgin Maidens, whatever. And it's a really nice touch. Also, later on, Undertaker has the same thing with a chariot. Why didn't they do this for any other wrestler on the show? I thought it was a missed opportunity.
I can only...
Can you imagine if Doink the Clown enters the ring with like gestures and stuff like that from Roman times? I thought it would be awesome.
Yeah, it could be, but it would also take time and some more thinking. And you got the biggest show of the year. Even back then, you don't want to overload it. You've got enough stuff going on as it is. That's the way I look at it.
Right. Anyways, as for the match itself, like I said, a very good matchup from both individuals. I really think that Luger did one of his best jobs in the WWF as the Narcissist Lex Luger. He works better as a heel than a face. The ending came when Luger does a backslide, but when doing so, he gives a little bit more elevation, but Perfect's legs hit the ropes, and they touch the ropes, so it should be a break, but the referee didn't see it. Pinfall for free, Luger wins. Perfect, of course, argues with the referees after the match, and Luger hits him with that elbow pad, with the elbow itself, knocking Perfect out. He goes back to the backstage. Perfect is upset, goes back to the backstage himself, finds Luger, attacks him, and then out of nowhere, Shawn Michaels starts attacking Mr. Perfect. And that was it. Gordon, your thoughts?
Remember when I said this show to me, is a two-match show?
So this was the second one.
It is very, very decent. It flows very well.
Yeah.
I'll go even further than that. I believe this is probably Luger's best WWF match.
I would agree on that. Completely agree on that.
Just good. It's Perfect before he totally ruined himself. It is Luger before he became the
American made in the USA.
American male, US Express, every other tag team you want. It's beyond good. It's very good. I'll even go there. It's just that.
You know what? I'll actually change my decision. I think this is the best matchup on the card. It was solid. It was good. Yeah, it was solid. It was good. It was a great performance by both wrestlers. The finish was a little bit weird, but I'll just take it as it is.
Why would you find this finish weird? Please tell me.
Because he's doing a backslide, and the referee is looking at the shoulders, but he doesn't look at the legs when they're near the ropes.
You want to talk refereeing?
No, I want to talk about consistency.
I'll talk refereeing with you all night long. I'll just explain.
Go ahead, man. Give your thoughts.
Okay. When you're a referee, you are supposed to take a look at the shoulders of the pinned performer. Therefore, the referee appointed for this match, please forgive me, I forgot who it was.
Joey Morella.
By all means, he was doing his job. Semi-job as a blind person, as the job wants us to be. He was counting down the shoulders of the pinned performer, and basically that was it. He doesn't need to look upwards.
True, but if the pinfall occurs near the ropes where the pinned wrestler has a chance to hit the ropes to break the pinfall, he should also have his eyes on the ropes. So I'm just saying.
Well, he should, yet he didn't. You know, I keep on saying, us referees, we all need canes and walking dogs. That being a former referee, I can.
I thought it was just a minor mistake, but nevertheless, it's still a great matchup, the best matchup on the card. And like I said, I thought the Narcissist Lex Luger gimmick worked. It worked beautifully. And I was really sad, or maybe more bummed, when they changed it into the American-made in the USA Lex Luger, because I thought the Narcissist had potential. If you would stick to that gimmick, who would have thought? Maybe he could have even become the WWF champion in the future, but the plans didn't work that way.
Could be.
Yeah. After this, we get a segment from Gorilla Monsoon explaining to us there's 2 more matches going on with The Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez and the main event. This made absolutely no sense because what? They took a Gorilla Monsoon off the show, so they want to give another extra minutes. So what was this, like a pity segment? What was it?
Up until this moment where you've mentioned it, I swear I didn't even remember this going on.
Because I wasn't on Coliseum Video, it was on the WWF Network's version. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yep. We don't have it on Coliseum Video, folks. All right. The next matchup on the card. Oh, yeah, this is a doozy. Giant Gonzalez taking on The Undertaker. The story of the matchup. If you saw our last review, Royal Rumble 93, I'm going to plug that thing to the end. The Undertaker was a participant in the Royal Rumble match. During the matchup, the Giant Gonzalez, accompanied by Harvey Whippleman, made his debut into the Federation. He attacked The Undertaker, eliminated him from the Royal Rumble matchup, continued to attack him, and this was basically a retaliation for Undertaker burying Kamala. So the match was set. WrestleMania IX, Giant Gonzalez versus The Undertaker. Undertaker, like I said, had a tremendous entrance when he was coming with a chariot and green mist and a vulture or an eagle or whatever that was. It was really awesome. Gordon, your thoughts on the match?
The awesomeness ends when the match starts.
Yeah, pretty much.
And look.
Yeah, this was bad.
We should say Gonzalez is a sight to behold. His height is very impressive.
Yeah.
I cannot say the same about his lack of wrestling abilities. And I actually, at a point, thought he had no other moves aside from choking. But then I remember.
I'm saying he was saving that 450 splash for a special occasion. I'm just saying.
I think he was banking on that moonsault. Anyway. Look, it should be said about the lack of moves. I once saw him in a match versus Randy Savage where he pulled out a clothesline. So choking
out of nowhere.
Only choking is saved for nails. This guy is an athlete. He chokes, he clotheslines, he does everything aside from having a good match. And this one shares the minus stars along with the aforementioned tag team title match.
So yeah, this wasn't a good matchup. Gonzalez, of course, controlling the majority of the matchup because he's more powerful than The Undertaker. We're joking about Giant Gonzalez, but the truth is the guy was limited in the ring as to the moves he was performing. He could barely walk during that time back in 93. Basically, it was clotheslines and chokes and clotheslines and maybe throwing your opponent into just some stairs on the outside. That was it. So his in-ring work was very limited. So this is what we had to work with. So yeah, Gonzalez controlling the matchup. Undertaker performs a comeback. He takes the Giant to one knee. Then at that point, Harvey Whippleman throws some cloth into the ring. Giant Gonzalez grabs that cloth. He puts it across the Undertaker's face. And Jim Ross, from way over at commentary, starts to smell it and says, that smells like chloroform. How powerful was that scent? Anyway, so yeah, it was chloroform to, like the storyline says. And the Undertaker gets passed out. They call in a bunch of agents and producers and paramedics to carry out the Undertaker backstage. The Giant Gonzalez stands in the ring victorious. No official statement has been made yet. The crowd starts chanting for Hogan. Yeah, because we want to see Hogan against the Giant Gonzalez, right, folks?
No, we don't. We don't want to see it.
Yeah. So then the gong hits. The Undertaker comes out of the out from the backstage. The crowd is livid. Bobby Heenan screams, "He is not alive!" Paul Bear tries to stop the Undertaker, that he can't stop him. The Undertaker continues to chop down the Giant Gonzalez, performs that flying clothesline, and he finally takes the big man down. Official result, Undertaker wins by disqualification. The match was atrocious. The match was horrible, but the ending was at least good. That comeback, that crowd livid, I think for that only, maybe it was worth it. Maybe.
Crowd was into it at the final stages of the match. I'll agree. It can't be served as a saving grace for this one. By the way, I've had no idea about, again, thanks to Tito's book. Thank you, Tito. I was informed that actually the guy, Gonzalez's handler, was none other than Bill Alfonso.
Really?
And he was brought from WCW in order to handle all the stuff needed to work with Elegante back then, and also in order to work some reffing duties. But he was very close. He would travel with him and be, as we said, his handler.
Well, that explains how come he's the only guy that gets chokeslammed in the aftermath. So yeah,
that's right.
All right, so that was the Undertaker versus the Giant Gonzalez. Then we get a last interview with Hulk Hogan, talking about. We don't even talk about his last match. Who remembers that one? That thing that happened a long time ago, that tag title match. He wants to talk about the WWF Championship. He looked into the eyes of Bret Hogan, brother, and he looked into the eyes of Yokozuna, brother, the Jap brother, and he basically says, whoever wins, I want the next shot. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Hogan putting himself over. He wants the next title shot against whoever wins, either it be Bret Hart or that Jap brother. Yeah.
Surprising, isn't it?
No, not really. I'm completely in shock. I mean, seriously, I did not see this coming by a mile. So anyway, from there, we move on to our main event. WWF Championship on the line. Yokozuna, the man who won the Royal Rumble back in the Royal Rumble '93, taking on the WWF champion Bret the Hitman Hart. Gordon, I'll give you the honors, man. Your thoughts. What did you think about, first of all, the match? Then we're going to talk about the aftermath.
It is quite a reasonable match. It is not bad. And apparently, I was actually told not too long ago.
Yeah.
Apparently, it appears in Bret's book. I've read it numerous times, and I couldn't remember this. That Yokozuna was just gassed and said, "Let's just cut to the finish." And there were about 10 or 15 minutes missing.
Really?
Yep. Due to the fact that he decided to call it home very, very early.
I don't know, because like when I saw the match, it actually looked good paced. Like it didn't seem like it ended shorter. Like, so I'm surprised.
Well, I don't know. Apparently, perhaps they didn't want to push Hogan out of WrestleMania and have him celebrate an hour less, as it seems. And we have lost Bam Bam and Kamala to this.
I was going to mention that at the end of the review, but before that, let's not talk about it. Before the matchup, Jim Ross asks his colleagues, who do you think is going to win? Bobby Heenan says Yokozuna, of course. Randy Savage goes, and I actually quoted this. Oh, yeah, he's going to do the thing in the ring. And Jim Ross looks at him like, What the hell do you want, man? I don't know what the hell you just said, but okay, let's move on in the matchup. And
That's
that's
a
why.
typical, it's the typical Randy Savage reply. Ross is just new in the company, and he.
Here's the thing. Sometimes Savage was good on commentary when he wanted to, but there was these times when Jim Ross asked him a direct question, looking for an answer, and Savage would just go like, well, I don't know, man, because there's a thing in the past in the Lions, and he goes up in there, oh yeah, and I'm like, what?
He would be Savage.
Yes, that was just weird. That's what we keep saying. Jim Ross carried the broadcast here and in King of the Ring '93, which we will review next. Yeah. That's these kind of spots that just irritated me. But the fact that Jim Ross fingered himself, he come into this new job in WWF, and I swear to God, he probably had this thing going on in his head. I left WCW for this.
I believe he said he's actually very, very thankful to both Savage and Heenan for carrying him throughout the broadcast.
Doesn't look like that. Look like Jim Ross doing most of the job there.
That's what he said. And it's in his book.
All right, so on to the match itself. This match was, to me, was good. It was a really good matchup. I think the difference between the size and the power against the quickness and the stealth of Bret Hart works really, really well in the game between those two forces. Right from the get-go, Bret Hart attacks Yokozuna with a dropkick. He comes charging in, but Yokozuna is too strong. So Bret Hart has to be a little bit smarter. Yoko throws Bret Hart to the outside. He tries to come back in. Yoko hits him. He tries to come back in again. Bret Hart traps his leg in the rope. He comes tumbling down, and he attacks him from there. From that point on, Yokozuna gets the momentum, hits that massive leg drop like we talked about. It looks like a devastating move. Every time Yokozuna hit a leg drop on someone, it looks like he killed him. So
amen to that. This is one of the favorite moves of watching Yokozuna perform.
Yeah.
By the way, I can't recall, is this the one where Bret leaps from the top into a belly-to-belly suplex, or is this WrestleMania 10?
As far as I can remember, it was WrestleMania 10. I don't remember that spot during this matchup.
Okay.
So Bret Hart was able to do a comeback, and then there's a point he hammers Yokozuna on the turnbuckle. Yokozuna tries to pull him through, but Bret Hart keeps holding on to the padding. But Yokozuna's too strong, so he pulls Bret Hart from there and the padding itself. Then we get Yokozuna trying to ram Bret Hart's head into the exposed steel of the turnbuckle. Bret Hart puts a leg to block it, and he hits Yokozuna instead. And from there, from something that I can simply say is astonishing, Bret Hart is able to lock in Yokozuna in the sharpshooter. And it's awesome. It's awesome because of the fact that Yokozuna's legs are so massive that you can't really even imagine Bret Hart locking in the sharpshooter, but he does, and it looks awesome. But yeah, but then Earl Hebner's eyes on Yokozuna looking, are you going to tap out? He doesn't see Mr. Fuji on the outside, spraying that salt in his hand, throw it into Bret Hart's eyes, and now Bret Hart is just blinded, and then he just releases the hold. Now, not that I'm going to criticize any referees, but if someone performs a submission move on someone, and then he suddenly breaks the hold, and he covers his eyes like this, and I would maybe question what's wrong with the guy, but no, Herblin didn't do anything because Herblin doesn't do anything. Yokozuna just rolls him up for the free, and Yokozuna becomes the WWF champion. That is the match. Now, Gordon, I'm going to give you the honors again. Let's talk about the aftermath. What did you think?
First, I want to sort of be the devil's advocate for Hebner. Bret may have gotten himself sunstroked. So it could happen, And
it was 5:30 in the afternoon. There was shade all over. What kind of sunstroke? What are you talking about?
Heenan would say these things take time to get a person affected.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So there you go. First of all, it was nice of them to remember the Fuji history versus Bret from the Demolition Heart Foundation days. And they should have mentioned this. I really believe they should have. Shall we talk about the abomination happening afterwards?
You go right ahead. I'll give you the honors. What'd you think?
It is such an act of I can't even describe it properly. It's glory hounding. That's what it is. It's ending at the very same way you've ended like the previous 8 WrestleManias, with Hogan on top, at some of them retaining or regaining the title. Give me a break. How long, for how much more time are we going to see this? Some say it may be the last time. I wouldn't bank on it, knowing Hogan.
All right, so what we're talking about is this. After the matchup, Hulk Hogan runs to the ring. He tells the referee, he's stolen the eyes, brothers. Come on, brother. Come on. And, of course, Mr. Fuji turns to Hogan. Hogan, my Yokozuna is your challenge. Come on, you yellow belly. And he basically says, Hogan says, no, forget it. I'm going to take Bret Hart back to medical care. But then Mr. Fuji says, hold on a minute. We'll do it right now. We'll put the WWF Championship match in the ring right now. And the crowd is livid again. They want to see Hogan get in there and beat the Japanese brother. But Hogan says, no, I can't do this. I can't betray my friend. And Bret Hart, with his eyes blinded, he just points to the ring and says, go in there, Bret Hogan. Go do it for America and whatever. He's Canadian.
He endorses Hogan, man.
He endorses Hogan, exactly.
And apparently it was in the book, in Bret's book, and he states, I was told Hogan would only work tag team matches with Beefcake. Well, apparently this is a tag team match now because Hogan is in the ring. He is facing Yokozuna for a brief time, and he wins the title. Well, this is the oddest tag team match I've ever seen.
What are you talking about? It's Hogan and Bret versus Fuji and Yokozuna, an established tag team match. What are you talking about? Anyway, so yeah, Hogan runs to the ring. Yoko attacks him. The bell hasn't even rung. Fuji grabs that salt again. The referee says, no, you can't do that. He throws it into the eyes of Yokozuna. Hogan knocks Fuji down. He knocks Yokozuna down. Leg drop. 1, 2, 3. Hogan wins the WWF Championship for a 5th time. Everybody in Las Vegas is just ecstatic. They're overjoyed. They're happy to see Hogan the champion once again. And in a video I just saw a couple of days ago, something I've never seen before, it appears there's a post-celebration, and Hogan's in the ring with Beefcake and Jimmy Hart. Beefcake, by the way, wears a different ties, by the way. And Vince McMahon shows up and he hugs Hogan. And even Savage is there to do a high-five fist bump with Hogan. And that's just weird to me, because if the rumors were true that Savage hit Hogan, that doesn't make any sense.
I just pop him in the other eye.
He's going to pop him in the other eye. So, yeah. So that's how the pay-per-view ends. Now, as for the whole debacle, this monstrosity of a decision, I can see a minimum of logic in it. And I tell you what is that logic? Hear me out. I'm not an advocate, and I'm not an advocate for Hogan. I'm just trying to look at the logical reason. We've talked about it before in our Hebrew Gay podcast, that if you wanna send the crowd home happy. If Yokozuna would have beaten Bret Hart, the crowd would not be happy. That's point number 1. Number 2, if Bret Hart were to defeat Yokozuna, what would be the point in that? I mean, you're building Yokozuna to be the next top monster. It doesn't make any sense for Yokozuna to lose this matchup. Point number 2. Point number 3, with Hogan going in and doing the whole schmuzz thing, he beat Yokozuna only after Yokozuna had a match. So Yokozuna wasn't the fresh man. So there's logical reasoning behind Hogan winning the title from there. Now, the plan, according to various sources and news outlets and whatever, the plan was supposed to be Hogan versus Bret at SummerSlam, where Bret would get the torch passed on to him from Hogan. That would make any sense. That makes sense, sorry. But where would that leave Yokozuna? I mean, he just lost the match. If the torch moves to Bret, so where does Yokozuna stand in this?
I believe they could have ended WrestleMania with Bret retaining in a victory over Yokozuna. The fact remains that it should have been sort of a fluke victory because Yokozuna is there to stay. They could have um, faced each other in a rematch some other time down the road. It's entirely up to how do you perform the speech. And this wasn't the correct way of doing it. That's it's just so flawed to me and to many others.
No, I know the flaw because Hogan saw is an egotistical jerk. I'm sorry to say that, only from a subjective point of view. But the thing is, the other solutions to this match do not make any sense because if Yokozuna loses, then he loses his entire push after winning the Royal Rumble. That doesn't make any sense. If Yokozuna wins without the whole Hogan thing happen, you don't send the crowd home happy. And those were the days where you want to send the crowd home happy after a pay-per-view. Even a beatdown, maybe if there was a beatdown afterwards by Hogan against Yokozuna to set up a match later on, that would be acceptable, maybe. But I don't see an option where Yoko loses or Bret Hart loses clean, and then Yoko just stand there as the victor as the correct result for WrestleMania to end. If the plan were to Bret Hart to face Hogan, this thing would have made a whole lot of sense later on. But that thing didn't happen. Hogan turned out to lose the championship to Yokozuna the next pay-per-view. It wouldn't even wait until SummerSlam. He lost it at the King of the Ring, and Bret would have to wait almost an entire year to get the rematch against Yokozuna. But for what it's worth, the ending does make some logical sense.
Well, you know me, I'm not a great fan of technical outcomes, but this one could have worked in here as well. I don't know, some sort of a DQ. I wouldn't say a counter, but it's to me, it's too weak of a result for the main event. Perhaps a DQ, perhaps I don't know. I wanted to say a victory roll, but I don't think he can pull it off out of Yokozuna even back then. I don't know. I, I stick to my version of it, and I think it could have been. They could have performed it so much better in a more convincing fashion than the final outcome we've received.
I think maybe the logical solution would be for Yoko to win against Bret, and then Hogan comes in and beats down Yokozuna after the matchup, not winning the title, but to set up the next feud. That is maybe the logical solution to this debacle, but that is not what we got. This is what he got instead. And we'll talk about that when we do our next review. And like Gordon said, there was supposed to be another matchup on the card, Kamala versus Bam Bam Bigelow. They advertised it in the preview show, but they didn't talk about it at the pay-per-view itself. What was the reason that this match did not happen?
To the best of my knowledge, just time shortage.
Really?
Yep. There's nothing too serious. It just time shortage. I believe they have competed against each other later on. I don't know at Challenge or Superstars or whatever.
Yeah, Wrestling Challenge, I believe.
On a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
But again, it's Bigelow against Kamala. It's not exactly the Iron Man you'd like to see. So
it was a decent match. I saw that match on Wrestling Challenge. By the way, Bam Bam won with a roll-up. When you watch the Coliseum video version, there's a showing of Kamala in a zoo talking to an elephant, and they have this subtitles on the bottom saying, "Due to reasons beyond our control, the match between Kamala and Bam Bam Bigelow did not take place. We're apologizing and whatever." So that's pretty much it. So that was WrestleMania IX from Las Vegas, Nevada, Caesar's Palace. And we're now going to grade it a grade between 1 till 10 with a record of 0 if the show was a complete catastrophe. Gordon, your honest opinion, what did you think about WrestleMania overall? And what is your grade between 1 till 10?
I would say that it is, I don't know, sort of less than a reasonable show. However, on the strength of the two aforementioned matches, I would give it a 5.
I would have to agree, or maybe even go a little bit lower. But you know what? I will stick it at 5. 5 out of 10. Half of the show was decent. Half of the show was horrendous. But yeah, it gave us lifetime of memories and nostalgia to talk about and review here on Clothesline Retro. And yeah, for what it's worth, this was a memorable WrestleMania for bad or worse.
I agree.
So that was our review for WrestleMania 9. We would love to know in the comments, what did you think about WrestleMania 9? What did you think about this review? How was our English? We're hoping we were completely understandable. And stay tuned to our next review, which will be King of the Ring 1993, the first edition of the King of the Ring in a pay-per-view format. And Gordon, what can we expect from that pay-per-view?
King of the Ring 93 is the very, very much expected Bret Hart breakthrough. It has not a good match, not a good WWF title match. I find it very, very tiresome. And it has an 8-man tag match for some reason.
We needed a filler, so we just put it on match 8.
Yeah. We got 8 guys.
So yeah, that is coming up at the next Clothesline Retro review. So once again, thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. We'd love to hear your comments down below. And if you want to stay notified when we're uploading these videos, hit a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification button. And we'll see you next time on Clothesline Retro. Thank you for watching.